Hello and welcome dear students. Today we are going to discuss an important topic, that is characteristic features of ecosystem. The main objectives of this lecture are ecosystem characteristics, evolution of ecosystems, homeostatis, management and optimization of ecosystem, and characteristics of major ecosystems. First of all, let us discuss about ecosystem characteristics. The ecosystem is an integrated unit or zone of variable size comprising vegetation, fauna, microbes and the environment. Most ecosystems characteristically possess a well-defined soil, climate, flora and fauna or communities, and have their own potential for adaptation, change and tolerance. Proper management is essential for maintaining the stability of the ecosystem. This will require an adequate knowledge of the nature and kinds of system components, functional relationship between them and the degree of tolerance and resistance to the environmental strain and stress. Has listed the features contributing to stabilization of ecosystem. Number 1, tolerance to extreme and harsh conditions. Second, ability for rapid recovery upon the recurrence of favorable growth conditions. Third, flexible and opportunistic feeding habitat. Fourth, nomadic migration of animals, etc. Similarly, some destabilizing features include sensitivity to damage to reserves, sensitivity to lagging components, low density, biomass and productivity, and sensitivity to soil erosion. Now, let us discuss about the evolution of ecosystems. Life began on Earth more than 3 billion years ago. The first ecosystems then were populated by tiny anaerobic heterotrophs that lived on organic matter synthesized by abiotic processes. Following the origin and population explosion of algal autotrophs, which converted a reducing atmosphere into an oxygenic one. Organisms have evolved through the long geological ages into increasingly complex and diverse systems that have achieved control of the atmosphere and are populated by larger and more highly organized multicellular species. Within this community component, evolutionary change is believed to occur principally through natural selection at below the species level. But natural selection above this level may also be important, especially coevolution. That is the reciprocal selection between interdependent autotrophs and heterotrophs, and group or community selection, which leads to the maintenance of traits favorable to the group. Similarities between major biomass or ecosystems in respect to ecosystem structure and function can be attributed to evolutionary convergence as a consequence of their evolution under similar environmental conditions. The functioning of any ecosystem involves a series of cycles. For example, the water cycle and the cycles of various nutrients. These cycles are driven by energy flow. The energy being the solar energy, continuation of life demands a constant exchange and return of nutrients to and from amongst the different components of the ecosystem. The main characteristic features of ecosystems are: number 1, the ecosystem is a major structural and functional unit of ecology. Second, the structure of any ecosystem is related to its species diversity the more complex ecosystems have high species diversity. Number third, the function of the ecosystem is related to energy flow and material cycling through and within the system. Number four, the relative amount of energy needed to maintain an ecosystem depends on its structure. The more complex the structure, the lesser the energy it needs to maintain itself. Number five, young ecosystems develop and change from less complex to more complex ecosystems through the process called succession. Number six, each ecosystem has its own energy budget which cannot be exceeded. Number seven, adaptation to local environmental conditions is the important feature of the biotic components of an ecosystem, failing which they might perish. Number eight, it is normally an open system within a continuous but variable influx and loss of materials and energy. Number nine, an ecosystem is an overall integration of the whole mosaic of interacting organisms and their environment. Number 10, an ecosystem is the smallest unit of biosphere. Number 11, different types of ecosystem are present in different areas. Number 12, ecosystem related to particular place and time represents the sum of all natural organisms, whether living or non-living, of that area. Number 13, ecosystem is a natural source management and a monistic concept. Number 14, the whole ecosystem is undertaken from the energy of different type, but the solar energy is most important. The other important characteristic features of various ecosystems: homeostatis, management and optimization of ecosystem. Ecosystems are capable of self-maintenance and self-regulation as their component population and organisms. However, they have a delicate balance of inputs and outputs, and this balance is often insufficient to avoid instability. The term homeostatis, homeo means same, status means standing, is generally applied to the tendency for biological system to resist change and to remain in a state of equilibrium. An essential feature of such regulatory mechanism is the process of feedback operating both at the level of individual and the entire system. Many of the large-scale human activities, industrial, agriculture or transport, tend to alter the natural balance of biotic and abiotic components in a stable ecological system. These activities frequently lead to acceleration of hydrogeochemical cycles, disturbance of input-output balances, accumulation of toxic substances such as hydrocarbons, metals and gases, overproduction or depletion of certain essential substances and eutrophication. All these involve simplification of ecosystem resulting into shortening of food webs, decrease in species diversity and contraction of forces of natural selection, and organic evolution has developed a theory of ecosystem stability based on energy matter constraints in living systems. Some important features of the theory are: ecosystems have a zero state trending tendency pertinent to stability. The concept of stability incorporates two ideas. Number one, resistance to change, and second, restoration to the near original state after the change has occurred. Now, let us discuss some characteristics of some major ecosystems. The regional biotic units, the biomes, are easily recognized by the life form of the climax vegetation. But the biome includes, besides the climax community, all associated developing and modified communities occurring within the same climatic region. Thus, a biome is a large regional entity, often encompassing several ecosystems showing certain common features. For instance, a forest biome may include young successional forests and open grass dominated tracts located within the large expanse of mature forest. Ecological characteristics of typical forest, grasslands or savanna and desert ecosystems are shown. The characteristic vegetation of forest ecosystem is dominated by densely growing trees having a closely or nearly so canopy cover. Depending upon the climate type, a wide variety of forest types occur in the world. Forests found in colder temperate regions differ from the forests in tropical regions in terms of structure, productivity and nutrient cycling. In the northern hemisphere, as one proceeds from the equator northward to Arctic region, consecutive belts of tropical, temperate, deciduous and temperate coniferous forests are observed. Tropical rainforests occur in warm and high rainfall regions near equator of the world with plenty of soil, water availability throughout the year. On the other hand, the tropical deciduous forests extend to the outer tropics, having lesser seasonal rainfall and prolonged soil drought during the year. The temperate forests are distributed in mid latitudes, that is 40 to 60 degree north latitude, include two contrasting types, dominated by either broadleaf deciduous species or by needle leaf evergreen species. Temperate broadleaf forests experience relatively mild cool environment, but the climate in temperate needle leaf coniferous forests are cold, with the ground being covered with snow for 5 to 6 months. The major forest ecosystems in India are tropical rain forest ecosystem, tropical deciduous forest ecosystem, temperate broadleaf forest ecosystem, temperate needle leaf or coniferous forest ecosystem. Now, let us discuss tropical rainforests. In India, tropical rainforests are discontinuously distributed mainly along western Ghats and in northeastern Himalaya. Dipterocarpus and Hopia are the most common tree species in Indian rainforests. The soil of rainforest is highly leached and has low base content. Large amounts of nutrients in rainforests are stored in the tall vegetation, whereas the nutrient storage in soil is low. Then tropical deciduous forests occur widely in the northern and southern parts of our country in plain and low hilly areas. Towards the northwest, the deciduous forests grade into thorn forests, sal, Shorea robusta, antique, Tectona grandis are the dominant tree species in deciduous forests. Leaves of most tree species drop before the advent of summer, turning the forest largely leafless along with dried up herbaceous layer. Many tree species possess thick barks giving protection from frequent fires. The deciduous forest soil is richer in nutrients due to lesser leaching. Then temperate broadleaf forests mainly occur between 1500 and 2400 meter altitude in the western Himalaya. Several species of oak, quercus, predominate in the temperate broadleaf forests. All oak species in the Himalayan region are evergreen. The tree canopy is dense, herbaceous layer is least developed, and grasses are generally lacking. Then temperate needle leaf or coniferous forests. In the Himalaya, the temperate needle-leaf coniferous forests are distributed over 1700 to 3000 meter altitude. The temperate needle-leaf or coniferous forests contain economically valuable gymnospermous trees like the pine, Pinus voliciana, deodar, Cedrus deodara, cypress, cupressus, torullosa, spruce, picea, smithiana and silver fir, Abies pindro. Coniferous forests are taller, that is 30 to 35 meters, and possess evergreen canopy of long needle-like leaves. In different species, needle leaves may persist on the canopy for 2 to 7 years, therefore the canopy always remains green. In many species, the canopy is cone-shaped. Now, let us discuss about grassland and savanna ecosystems. Grassland ecosystems have treeless herbaceous plant cover dominated by a wide variety of grass species. Family Poaceae. Associated with grasses are several herbaceous dicotyledonous species, especially legumes, which play important role in nitrogen economy. Amongst the best known grassland biomes are the extensive prairie in the North America and steppe in Russia. The rainfall in grassland region is considered too low to support a forest and much higher than the rainfall in deserts. Grazing by large herbivores and fire plays significant role in maintaining the dominance of grasses and eliminating the invasion of woody species. Morphologically, grasses are either sod formers which develop a solid mat of grass cover or bunch grasses which grow in separate bunches. The height of grassland vegetation is high variable, ranging from as low as few centimeters in arid regions to more than 1.5 meters in moist regions. Corresponding to above height range, the shoot biomass may vary widely from about 50 to 1000 gram. The primary productivity in grassland is directly related to the amount of rainfall. Savanna ecosystem. The term savanna implies a well-developed grass cover interspersed with scattered shrubs or small trees. The height of woody species may vary from 1 to 8 meters. Savannas are widely distributed in warm parts of Central and Southern Africa, India, Northern and East Central South Africa and Northern Australia. Although some savannas may be natural, many others are anthropogenic. In India, all savannas are believed to be derived by the degradation of original tropical forests and maintained in their current state by continued grazing and fire for centuries. An important aspect of tropical savannas is the abundance of grass species possessing C4 photosynthesis capability. As you know, these species are able to sustain high level of primary productivity even with low soil moisture availability. Although the root system of grasses is well developed in the upper 30 centimeter soil horizons, the woody species usually send their roots to deeper horizons. Now, let us discuss about desert ecosystem. Desert biome experiences prolonged moisture scarcity. Deserts have been variously classified as true deserts having less than 120 millimeter annual rainfall or extreme desert showing less than 70 millimeter annual rainfall. On the basis of temperature, deserts are distinguished into hot deserts and cold deserts. In desert biomes, evaporation from soil always exceeds rainfall by 7 to 50 times. Most of the deserts are distributed around the Tropic of Cancer and Tropic of Capricorn between 15 degree and 35 degree latitudes in both northern and southern hemispheres. Warm or hot day and cool night are the characteristics of most deserts. The biomass and primary productivity levels in deserts are low. The desert vegetation is dominated by three life forms. First, ephemeral annual herbs which grow only when there sufficient moisture is available. Second, typical succulent xerophytes like cacti which store water. And third, shrubs and small trees like prosopis, salvadora and tamarix whose deep tap roots may reach the water table. In some deserts, tall succulents, mostly cacti, become highly noticeable, projecting above the general canopy. Coniferous is an abundant grass in the desert regions. Now, let us discuss about aquatic ecosystems. Aquatic habitats have water as the principal external as well as internal medium. Within these freshwater habitats may be conventionally recognized into two categories. First, standing water or lentic habitats, for example, lakes, ponds, swamp or bog. Second, running water or lotic habitats, for example, spring, stream or river. Often, there is no sharp boundary between categories or within water bodies of same category. Freshwater habitats occupy a relatively small portion of Earth's surface as compared to terrestrial and marine habitats, but their importance is far greater than their area. Now, when it comes to rivers and estuaries, rivers have greatly affected human history in terms of location of settlements. The flow of water in rivers varies seasonally, and oxygen and suspended matter are two factors that often become critical. For instance, during the rainy season, many rivers carrying heavy silt road become muddy with much reduced transparency in water. Two categories of the flowing water ecosystem rivers have been distinguished. Number one, streams in which basin is eroding and the bottom therefore is generally firm. And second, stream in which material is being deposited and therefore the bottom is generally composed of soft sediments. In many cases, these situations alternate in the same stream, as may be seen in rapids and pools of small streams. When rivers meet the sea, having saline water, at the junction develop the estuaries, where salinity level keeps fluctuating with tide. At high tide, the inflowing sea water makes the estuary highly saline, while at low tide, with water draining into the sea and river water flowing in, the salinity level drops. The organisms have evolved many adaptations to cope with tidal cycles and salinity changes. Tidal action promotes a rapid circulation of nutrients and food and aids in the rapid removal of waste products of metabolism. The estuaries are one of the most productive regions of the world. So, let us discuss about the estuarine ecosystem. An estuary is a semi-closed coastal body of water that has a free connection with sea. It is strongly affected by tidal action, and within it sea water is mixed with fresh water from land drainage. River mouths, coastal bays, tidal marshes and bodies of water behind barrier beaches are some of the examples. Estuaries are generally productive because of water flow subsidizes and abundant of nutrients. The chief biotic components of estuarine ecosystem are coral reef ecosystem. A coral reef represents one of the most beautiful and well adapted ecosystems to be found in the world. Coral reefs are made up of calcareous skeletal remains and secretion of corals and certain algae. They are confined largely to the warm waters of the Pacific and Indian Oceans. The reef building corals grow best in waters having an average annual temperature of about 24 degrees Celsius at a depth of about 40 to 50 meters. They can survive neither sudden temperature changes nor prolonged exposure to temperature below 18 degrees Celsius. They also require for their growth rocky floor and sunlight and water. Now, let us discuss spacecraft as an ecosystem. During space travel for a short journey, such as few orbits around the Earth, man does not require to take along with him a self-sustaining ecosystem. Since sufficient oxygen and food can be stored in the capsule to last for a short time. However, for a long journey involving a number of astronauts, such as an expedition to one of the planets, he must devise some self-contained system so as to get at least minimum requirements necessary for his smooth working and survival as in nature. Such a self-contained spacecraft must include all four of the basic components, that is producers, consumers, decomposers and abiotic components, in such a proportion and diversity as to maintain a stable environment capable of adjusting to the incoming solar radiation as do the Earth's ecosystem. A small capsule with a few components might function outside the biosphere for a short time, but a larger, more diverse system would be more stable and safer for a longer time. So, this was all about today's topic. Hope you have enjoyed it well, and thank you for watching.